strap in, everyone, because today we're taking a deep dive into something, well, it's going to hit pretty close to home for a lot of you guys, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
We're diving into The Vulnerable Vessel, A Tale of Strength and Resilience by Conrad Riker.
It's a good one.
And this book, it's all about, men and how we navigate this whole masculinity thing in today's world.
Yeah, and I think right away, Riker makes it clear that, this isn't some self-help book. He's not giving out therapy or anything. It's more about just exploring these ideas.
Yeah.
And he even says, any stories or examples, it's all made up.
Fictional, yeah.
Just to make a point.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, okay, for our deep dive today, let's pull out some of the big ideas here, right? We're talking about masculinity, how society's changing, and how that affects men. And then, how do we build resilience in the face of all that? And we're taking all this straight from the book. So we're looking at this paradox of vulnerability, like be vulnerable, but don't be too vulnerable. Gender roles are changing. What's that mean for us as father? And there's so much more. It gets really interesting.
Yeah.
So let's jump in.
So right off the bat, Riker kicks off chapter 1 talking about the modern man's dilemma.
Okay.
And it really sets the tone for the whole book.
I like that title.
Yeah.
The Modern Man's Dilemma.
And he points out this pressure that's on men today, right? We got to be strong, decisive providers, but also we got to be sensitive, emotionally available.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot. And it's like, are you one or the other?
Exactly. And trying to balance those two, it's like walking a tightrope,
Yeah, it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly. And Riker, he uses this analogy, and it's
okay.
He says, a person isn't what he assumes he is. He is what the world considers him to be. It made me stop and think, because it's true, right? Our perception of ourselves is shaped by how other people see us.
Sure.
What about you? Does that resonate with you at all?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like you're trying to figure out who you are, but then you've got all these people with all these expectations, and it's tough to reconcile that with your own, sense of self.
Yeah, totally. And that tension between internal and external perception, that's a big theme throughout the book.
Okay.
And then from there, Riker jumps into this whole toxic masculinity thing in chapter 2.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But not in the way you might think.
Okay.
He focuses on the behaviors, the negative ones, like aggression, dominance, suppressing your emotions.
Right.
But he doesn't just say, oh, that's toxic masculinity, end of story,
Okay, so it's more nuanced than that.
Way more nuanced.
Okay.
Yeah, he takes this really fascinating turn in chapter 3, and he starts looking at the history of men's role. He talks about knights, protectors, explorers, inventors, leaders throughout history,
right,
and how all those roles, they often demanded strength, stoicism, a willingness to take risks.
Yeah.
It makes you think, right? Maybe some of those traits that today we call toxic were actually necessary back then.
Right, it was a different time.
Exactly, it was a different time.
Yeah. Can't just judge the past by today's standards.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a different world.
It is.
All right, so we've got this pressure on men, this toxic masculinity thing. And then what? What's next?
Well, building on that historical perspective, chapter 4 gets into this thing Riker calls the vulnerability.
Okay.
And he says, we're told to be vulnerable, that it's a strength, but then men get punished for showing it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially at work and relationships where we're supposed to be the strong, dependable ones.
Right, and it's like you can't win.
Yeah. You show too much vulnerability, you're weak.
But then bottle it all up and you're, emotionally unavailable or whatever.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's a tough spot.
And to really drive this point home, he tells a story about his friend Jake.
Okay.
This guy, Jake, seemed like he had it all. Successful, confident, but underneath, he was struggling with anxiety, self-doubt.
Wow.
He hid it well, but it was eating him up inside.
It's crazy how we can put on these fronts.
Yeah, and it shows that vulnerability, it's not weakness, right? It's something we all experience.
For sure.
Even the guys who seem like they have it all together.
Absolutely.
So how about you? How do you handle that paradox in your own life?
It's a good question. I mean,
when is it okay to be vulnerable, and when does it feel like a risk?
Right. I guess. It depends. I mean,
it's a tough one, and that's exactly what Riker wants us to think about.
Yeah.
He doesn't give us easy answers,
right,
but he challenges us to look at our own beliefs about vulnerability and how they might be holding us back.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this pressure, the paradox. Where do we go from here? Well, chapter 5 shifts gears a bit, and he talks about something he believes can really help us navigate all this, developing practical skills.
Practical skills.
Like hands-on stuff.
Yeah.
He says mastering tangible skills like woodworking, managing your money, fixing things around the house, even cooking.
Right.
It not only gives you practical benefits, but it also builds confidence, self-reliance.
I like that.
Yeah, a sense of agency, especially in a world that can feel chaotic and unpredictable.
Totally. It's like you're taking control.
Exactly.
And those are all skills that can be really valuable.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is how Riker connects skill development to resilience.
Okay, I can see that.
He sees it as building inner strength, like you're capable of handling whatever life throws at you.
Right, you can figure things out.
It's about taking action, problem solving, creating something with your hands.
I like that.
Yeah. Which of those skills resonates most with you?
Well,
And how do you think those skills contribute to your own sense of resilience?
That's a good question because I've always been drawn to...
It's funny, right? Because thinking about these skills, it's almost like going back to how things used to be when men were expected to be handy and self-sufficient.
Right.
It's like reclaiming that mastery.
Yeah, I can see that.
That sense of agency.
It's about feeling capable, like you can handle things on your own.
Exactly. And that leads us to a chapter that's, it's pretty thought-provoking.
Okay.
Chapter 6, Riker tackles gender equality.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah, and it's important to remember this is his perspective, but he basically says complete gender equality, it's a fallacy.
Whoa, hold on. He's saying it's impossible.
That's what he argues, yeah.
Why does he say that?
He believes men and women were just inherently different biologically.
Okay.
Different strengths, different weaknesses.
Right.
And he thinks striving for complete equality, it ignores those differences. And it could actually lead to more problems.
Okay, I see where he's coming from.
He uses examples like physical strength, how we handle risk, even emotional responses.
Right.
To illustrate his point.
It's definitely a different perspective, that's for sure.
It is. It's controversial, but it makes you think, right?
It does. It really does.
About all the complexities of gender roles and expectations.
I'd love to hear more about how he builds this argument, actually.
Well, that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll explore Riker's views on relationships, decision-making, fatherhood, all that good stuff.
Sounds good, and trust me, it gets even more interesting from here. I'm already hooked. This is great.
Good one.
Can't wait to dive into the rest of the book.
So, picking up where we left off with gender equality, Riker's view on that in Chapter 6 really kind of sets the stage for how he sees relationships.
Okay.
And he gets into that in Chapter 7, which he calls red pill relationship. Have you heard of that term before?
Yeah, I have. It's used a lot online, like in certain communities, to describe, a certain way of looking at dating and relationships.
Exactly. And Riker, he seems to agree with some of those ideas.
Okay.
He's pretty critical of modern dating. He talks about the superficial,
Right.
the hookup culture, how there aren't really clear roles or expectations anymore.
Yeah.
And he contrasts that with the way things used to be,
Right.
more traditional courtship, where men were expected to take the lead, pursue women, provide for them.
So he's saying we should go back to that.
In a way, yeah.
Okay.
He believes men should be the ones to initiate, set the pace, lead the relationship.
Okay.
And he also talks about the importance of building a connection that's deeper,
Right.
based on shared values, not just, superficial attraction.
So it's more than just looks.
It's exactly
about like compatibility.
Right. And it's interesting, right? Because he's pushing back against this idea of complete equality in relationships, saying there should be more defined roles.
Yeah, it's definitely a different perspective.
It is. It's not what you usually hear.
Not in the mainstream, that's for sure.
No, not at all.
But it's interesting to consider.
Definitely.
What about you? Do you think those ideas have merit?
I mean, I think...
Have you seen them play out in your own relationship?
Well, it's funny you should ask, because
Okay.
from relationships, Riker moves on to decision-making in Chapter 8. And he's really big on men being able to make clear, rational decisions.
Makes sense.
Not letting emotions cloud their judgment.
Right.
He talks about, recognizing your biases, doing your research before you make big choices.
Right.
Really thinking through the consequences.
Yeah, I've definitely made some impulsive decisions I regret.
No, we all have.
Yeah.
And he uses this example, buying a car,
Yeah.
which is something everyone can relate to.
For sure.
He says, it's so easy to get caught up in the moment,
Yeah.
make a decision based on emotion.
Right.
And then later you're like, what was I thinking?
Buyer's remorse, big time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he stresses taking your time, doing your research, making a logical decision based on your needs and your budget.
That's good advice. And it applies to more than just buying a car, right?
Oh, absolutely. It could be anything.
Career choices, investments, big life decisions.
Exactly. Thinking back on your own life, what are some big decisions you've had to make Would you say you approach them rationally or were emotions?
Well, there was this one time.
So, from individual decision-making, Riker then shifts to a broader perspective in Chapter 9.
Okay.
And this is a big one, fatherhood.
Okay.
He sees it as absolutely essential, not just for raising kids, but for, the stability of society as a whole.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah, you don't hear that too often these days.
Oh, you don't?
He emphasizes the positive impacts of involved fathers.
Like what?
Less stress for the fathers themselves, stronger family units, and most importantly, passing on positive values to the next generation.
That's huge.
He argues that fathers, they have a unique role. They provide guidance, discipline, a strong male role model.
It's about legacy.
Yeah.
Leaving a positive impact.
Exactly.
What about you? What kind of legacy do you hope to leave?
It's a good question. I mean,
For your family, for society?
it makes you think, you know?
It does.
And it ties into what Riker says about sustainability and financial literacy.
Right.
He covers that in chapters 10 and 11.
Okay.
And he's pretty critical of what he calls cheap choices.
What does he mean by that?
He's talking about the things we buy because they're convenient or trendy,
Right.
but they end up costing us more in the long run, financially and environmentally.
Okay, I see what he's saying.
Like fast fashion, for example.
Right.
Clothes that are cheap but fall apart quickly.
Yeah, and end up in a landfill.
Exactly. And Riker, he sees that as a lack of foresight, a disconnect from the consequences of our action.
It's about thinking long term.
Exactly. And he connects that to financial literacy,
Okay.
saying men need to understand how money works, how to save, invest, build wealth for the future.
Right, it's about being responsible.
He's a big fan of real estate and the stock market as ways to build a secure future.
So it's about taking a more responsible approach
Yeah,
to our finances, to our impact on the planet.
absolutely. And that all ties into his bigger message about resilience, which he really dives into in chapter 12.
Okay.
And for him, resilience, it's not just about being tough.
Right.
It's about having the inner strength to overcome setbacks, deal with stress.
Right, and keep moving forward.
Exactly. Keep pushing towards your goals.
But how do you actually build that kind of resilience?
Well, that's where we'll delve into the next part of our deep dive.
So we're talking resilient. You know, it's one thing to say be more resilient,
Right.
but how do you actually do that? What does Riker say?
Well, in chapter 12, he gives some pretty concrete strategy. Okay. He talks about physical fitness and not just for looks.
Right.
It's about feeling strong, capable.
Okay.
You know, like you can handle yourself.
Yeah.
He connects it to self-esteem, discipline,
Okay.
even that primal instinct to protect, to provide.
I can see that.
Yeah.
When you're physically strong, you tend to feel mentally and emotionally stronger too.
Exactly.
Like you can take on anything.
And he goes beyond just physical strength. He
Yeah.
gets into mental toughness.
Okay.
Describes it as this combination of thoughts, actions, behaviors that let you overcome fear, face challenges head on.
So it's about having that inner strength
Yeah.
to keep going when things get tough.
Exactly.
But is that something you're just born with, or can you actually develop it?
That's a good question. Riker believes it's a skill you can build.
Okay.
He even talks about neuroplasticity.
You're what?
Plasticity. It's
Ow.
basically the brain's ability to change and adapt
Okay.
based on your experiences, your actions.
So the more you face challenges, the stronger you get.
Exact. It's like working out your brain.
Like going to the gym, but for your mind.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
like that analogy.
And it's not just about pushing through hardship. It's about developing the right tools
Yeah.
to deal with those challenges effectively.
So like what kind of tools?
Well, he emphasizes mindset,
Right.
choosing to see obstacles as opportunities for growth.
Instead of just giving up,
Right. It's about reframing your perspective, finding the positive.
even when it's hard.
Exactly. And he doesn't stop there.
Okay.
Riker also talks about having a strong support network.
People you can rely on.
Yeah. Friends, family, mentors, people who can guide you, encourage you, help you when you need it.
Makes sense. We're not meant to go through life alone, right?
Right. Having people to lean on makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
And then he gets into some really interesting stuff.
Like what?
He talks about medical literacy.
Medical literacy.
Yeah, like understanding basic medical concepts.
Yeah.
So you can be more proactive about your health.
Instead of just blindly trusting doctors.
Exactly. It's about being informed.
Taking control.
And he even talks about legal literacy too.
Legal stuff.
Yeah, understanding the basics can save you a lot of trouble down the line.
Makes sense. It's a complicated world out there.
It is. And it's about protecting yourself, making smart decisions.
And he circles back to financial literacy again.
It's a big theme for him.
Yeah, seems like it.
He wants men to be financially secure.
Provide for their family, build a future.
Exactly. He talks about managing debt, investing wisely, planning for retirement.
It's like he's giving us this roadmap,
Yeah,
for how to take control of our lives.
on every level. Physical, mental, emotional, financial.
Yeah, I like that.
And he wraps it all up with this message about building a legacy.
Leaving something behind.
More than just personal success, it's about making a positive impact.
On the world, on future generations.
Exact. And he reminds us resilience isn't about avoiding hardship. It's about having the tools to navigate it.
To come out stronger on the other side.
Exact.
Man, this has been a really eye-opening deep dive.
It's a good one.
This book, The Vulnerable Vessel, it really makes you think differently about masculinity.
It challenges a lot of assumptions.
It does, and it gives you this vision for how men can actually thrive.
In today's world, with all its complexity.
What about you? What resonated most with you?
I think for me, it's the focus on building resilience on all those levels we talked about. Physical, mental, emotional, financial.
It's about taking ownership.
Yeah, developing those essential.
Creating a legacy that matters.
Absolutely. And if you want to explore these ideas further, you can find The Vulnerable Vessel on Amazon, Kindle, and Google Play Books.
Definitely a thought-provoking read. It'll challenge you, inspire you.
For sure.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time for another exploration. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to be the best version of yourselves.